The third annual reunion at Yoga Camp, Valmorin, Quebec, Canada. The TTC reunion people talked to Swami Mahadev as a give and take forum, and they also talked to their peers. The teacher trainer course reunion. Hariom Tatsat.
My name is Danielle. I'm from Hamilton, Ontario. I did my TTC in Nyar Dam with my husband Andrew. We did it at the same time.
What year?
Just 2 years ago, 2009, in February. And since then, I've been teaching in Hamilton for the last 2 years. We returned home in March, and I started in May. And slowly, it's growing a little bit more every day, which is wonderful. I teach about 10 classes a week, and I think about a month I teach about 20 students. And I also teach at the Y twice a week. And I always am sure to salute our teachers at the end of each class and try to pass their message on the best that I can. So I'd say over the last 2 years, I've probably taught about 80 people. Okay.
And how's the reaction from the people? What kind of reaction do you have from them? They just want to have the yoga, they want to have more philosophy, or what is your feedback on that?
Well, I also just did my ATTC in the Bahamas, and a girl in my class put it really well. She said that she teaches Ashtanga, but she also teaches Shivananda, because once people get the feeling of peace in the asanas, then they want to move into something deeper and they want to ask more questions. So at first I feel like they are really interested in asana, but as they become more confident, then they really want to work on meditation. So this year, after 2 years, will be the first time that we are going to start meditating once a week together. And I also just bought one of my students the complete illustrated book of yoga. So over time, I feel they're interested.
Okay.
Okay?
Do you teach anywhere they don't allow you to do the prayer? They don't want you to do it?
Well, I've never asked. I just do it. And they're okay. I teach seniors and teens. For the teens, I don't. We just say Om, just in case I don't offend any parents. And that's at the Y. But when I teach my own classes, I always say first. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
If we would ever put something on our website where teachers could come and ask questions. Because sometimes I have questions, and I've been really lucky to go to the Toronto Centre. People have been able to help me, but sometimes you just want to write it down and then get an answer.
I think we have it on the, I don't know if you have a Gurugram, but the Gurugram sends out some information.
Okay.
But we can do that, yeah, that's a good idea.
Sometimes even postures, there's things I can't find.
Yeah, we can do that. No, not a problem.
Really? Okay,
Yeah, we'll have
cool.
it tomorrow.
Oh,
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Davy, and I did my TTC in Valmorin in 2007. During my TTC, I was wondering what would happen after TTC, and was scared to be alone, left alone. But somebody said, "There's a center near your place." I'm near Ottawa. I'm on the Quebec side near Gatineau, and they said, "Kumari and Urjana have a center." So right after TTC, I went and meet them, and they opened their arms as if I was just a friend they always knew. And they welcomed me, and I was the assistant for Arjuna for a year. And then they've asked me to teach in their center. So I've been teaching there, thank you, for 4 years. The first year after my TTC, I was teaching at their center, but I also decided to teach somewhere else in the school for little children, teenagers, and in other centers also to see how people were reacting to Shivananda Yoga. I have to say I've scared some teens because with my Jaya Ganesha and everything, because I had decided to do it, the whole package, the Shivananda package, and some of them never came back, and it's okay, you know, and I felt I was doing what I was doing, and it was okay. But then some kids stayed, and they came to thank me, and thanks for the teaching, so I explained that they could continue all their life and come to the ashram, so clearly they will come. What was really enriching is that I had a chance to teach some militaries. That was outside the Ottawa Center, just in a military school. And for them...
Just a second.
Yes.
Did he ask you, did you apply for these schools or military, whatever they are?
Well, I applied to that college, and I didn't know who were the students. And my surprise was the students were militaries. And they had a really hard time with savasana, just being there still. Their arms would go like this. And I would sing to Jaya Ganesha, and they would listen politely. And they would do the whole asana class because they're very disciplined, so they would listen to the teacher. But I saw some of them saying to me that it was the first time they could relax and learn to relax. So just that was a gift, to be there, to have the experience.
To let you know, this was a major from the U.S. Army who called last year saying that they have a terrible problem with the soldiers coming back from Iran and Afghanistan. They call post-traumatic war syndrome or something like that. Okay? And it's an awesome number, more than 50%. So they thought to teach them yoga. Okay? Of course, probably, was very much interested by us, but then there might be some problems about being military, coming back, and not to tell anything, especially to come to Canada, etc., etc. He was very serious about it, and they have some very enormous problems. So we are trying to figure it out, how far, how deep went this message of Swami Shivananda, Swami Vishnu. That's on the idea of the reunion, because we live in our own world called ashram. We don't know what you guys are doing out there, and who's been reaching, how far, etc., etc. So that's why one of the reasons why we call you up here to say, okay, can you tell us what's going on there? Because we would like to know more. As mentioned before many times, we have more than 27,000 people that directly or indirectly, some of them might do, not anymore, but some of them might teach. So what's going on out there? How far the message went? So that's the feedback. So thank you very much.
I have to say that after 1 year between the Ottawa Center with Kumari and Arjuna and being out there with teenagers, militaries, etc., I felt my energy was being really spread, and I'm also a mother of 3 kids, so I had to make change. So I went back to another work and continued to teach only to the Ottawa Center. But my next, what I feel I have to do is, and I have to talk to Arjuna and Kumar, is eventually I'd like to teach to women who are in shelters, who are on their own and won't go to a yoga center because they cannot afford it or they don't know about it, and so that's my next.
That's very good. That's really good.
So
Thank you.
if I can have your blessing for my next project.
Remember, okay, the fact, the blessing is be there. Who are the shelter women? God Himself. And God says, someone's coming to help me out. Well, you help me out, I'll help you out. So that's what the blessings are, okay?
My name is Katya, and this month it's 20 years since I first came to this ashram. And
You mean you waited 20 years before coming back?
No. 20 years ago was the first time, and Swami Vishnu was here at that time. And I've been back since then. And I did my TTC in '96 in Nerdam. And when I did it, I didn't really do it to teach. I did it because I wanted to deepen my own practice. I don't know how many of you guys did it for that reason, but I know, I know when I was talking to people who were doing it at the time, there were quite a lot of us. And then I started teaching, I guess, in maybe about 2 years after that, and it was just kind of by mistake, really. I was in graduate school in Boston, and I was kind of short of cash, and I thought, well, you know, I have this TTC certificate, maybe I'll try and teach a little bit of yoga. So I went to the Y, and they only had one yoga class at that time. I guess it was 98, and they hired me to do a second one. And then I started looking around, and before I knew it, at the time there was so much demand. It was out of control how many requests I had. And before I knew it, I was teaching 10 classes a week. I didn't have time to do graduate school work anymore. So I actually had to cut back and do fewer classes. And so I taught like that for about 5 years. Finally, I need to finish my degree, so I was down to like 1 or 2 classes a week, and I was a substitute teacher. I don't know how many of you have done that, but there's so much demand for substitute teachers. I would get calls every day, you know, can you fill in next week, that kind of thing. I really don't know how many people I taught. The classes were, I mean, my regular classes got to be about 30 or 40 people. I was often teaching at gyms. After a while, I found it difficult to teach at the gym because it's very fitness oriented, you know. I mean, I'd have people come and ask me like, how many calories am I going to burn, you know, am I going to lose weight, or I'd have other challenges. Like I had a man who was extremely heavy come in and really push himself too hard. I thought he was going to have a heart attack, and I had to ask him to slow down, and he wouldn't. That was quite challenging. I had a woman come in who was anorexic. You know, I had to also try to work with her. So those are some of the challenges I met in the gym. And after I finished my degree, I moved to India. I just really wanted to further my practice. So I was living in India for several years, and I did the sadhana intensive in Uttarakhand, which was beautiful. So now I've started teaching again a little bit. I taught at a place in the Finger Lakes that does animal rescue, so I've been trying to move into that. I think that Shivananda, coming here to this ashram and so emotional, I don't know why. I think it really changed my life in a lot of ways besides teaching yoga. I mean, if we think about Swami Vishnu's message about serving and loving and giving, after I finished my degree, I decided to work in an area I hadn't worked in before. And I work with heroin addicts and people who are HIV positive now. And it's, I guess in that way, the message and what I learned here really has hopefully benefited many people besides just teaching us in a class, you know. And I work in a lot of challenging countries. I've worked with drug users in India, in Pakistan. I've been several times in Nepal, and in many other challenging countries. So those are the ways that I guess what I've learned here, I hope has benefited both by teaching the asana practice and in my other work. Thank you.
We come here, all of us, to refresh ourselves and to get new inspiration and get new horizon. That's very important, okay? Thank you very much. Very human, okay? That's the way that Swamiji wanted us to be. I want to ask a question to everybody. Is your awareness, personal awareness, that yoga is expanding more and more? In which direction and how deep? Anybody can say?
My name is Santosham. I did my TTC in 2009.
The
other side.
adapt, adjust, and accommodate.
My name is Santosham. I did my TTC in 2009, January. The year before, in 2008, I went to India with my mom and for 2-week yoga holiday. And the teacher, she was a Shivananda teacher from Denmark. We brought up this yoga vacationers from Denmark. And for half a day, she took us to Nayadam. And I came in the morning and just saw these in yellow my Jaya Jaya Vati Vikna Vinaya, and I stood by that. I feel here, I feel home. I felt at home right away. And that was the change for me. So when I came home, I signed up for next year to do my TTC. So back to yoga. I do reflexology, massage. In daily life, I've been doing that for 12 years. And I thought yoga would help me to connect somehow, this work with the body, with the mind and everything. And I work in justice department. And I work in the finance department. And I start to teach them yoga in the morning, in those places. And let me say, they are very mental people. They work from here and up. The rest is, they're not connected with. They're so not aware of everything, just making laws and looking at numbers, and everything is chaos for them. So I teach them in the morning, and I teach in a little center where we do the Shivananda teaching. And I feel in Denmark, I see a tendency that yoga turns into a very physical mindedness. It's very physical, especially the gyms, just like the woman before said, it's very, very physical. But I also see a change that people is also seeking something deeper, but they don't know what to look for and a little confused. And because there's so many inputs from so many things, so much disturbance from cell phones, emails, all kind of Facebook is like just clouding up in their minds and everything. And yeah, I see the interest from there. It is there, and I see that they want to have a change, but they're just scared. When I sing Gajananam, I sing it with the light out for them, because otherwise they cannot cope with it, or some get too afraid. What is this? Is it a sect, or what is it I've come to? And a tramp will come when they lie down. And then gently, one day they will get ready to sit up. But, we are 25 in Copenhagen, teachers that meet once in a while, now and then, once a month. And we do all the Gajana together, teach each other a class to inspire each other and remind of the ashram energy, the energy that Swami Vishnu-devananda had taught us, just to keep up the energy. And yeah, I come here also to rejuvenate, and come back more firm, and to be the light in the world, to be the change for others.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So,
The United States and Canada, at the beginning, I remember Swami Vishnu started in 1969. We had the first TTC, I mean, about 35 people, it's less than that. And it's growing at phenomenal rates, okay? Now, we have so many requests, especially from the East, from Russia, from China, Singapore, Taiwan. Probably don't have enough staff to take care of it, but there are people coming and begging, please come to Singapore, please come to China, please come to, what else was it, Seoul, and Taiwan, etc., Korea. There's a tremendous, we don't have enough, but you can see that it's spreading like wildfire, and in the hope that this positive energy created by Swami Shivananda, Swami Vishnu, eventually could create a good mass of energy, positive energy, to offset the dire direction into which society is going today. Okay? as part of the reunion, is to find these things out. Okay, so again, thank you very much. Thank you. In Holland, in Denmark, it's Holland, Norway, they're very conservative countries by nature. Okay. Yet this yoga is going on up there quite a bit. In Norway, in Sweden, Denmark, Holland, etc. And it's heartening to see how people get interested more and more and more and more. Okay. Thank you. Next person, please. Next.
My name is Happy, and I took the TTC in the late 1980s, and when I did actually take it, it was not going to teach yoga, but I simply wanted to be at the feet of the Swamis. There was, of course, at that time actually Swami Vishnu, and all the Swamis were there. I wanted to really actually deepen as much as I could my knowledge. Then, when I did finish the TTC, my first then actually job was to teach my family. They were not at that time into yoga, and I had 3 girls, and I then started to then talk to them about what I had learned, and I did then actually bring them here. So they went to the actually kids camps. Eventually, 2 of them took the TTCs. And I felt then that I was through more or less with my own family, and they had left. Then, several years later, we moved to the States. In actually Vermont, where we have moved, I first started to teach in actually health club. That's the only place I found. And to my surprise, I found there that people talk a lot about yoga, but not the way I was taught about yoga. They didn't. They had all kinds of names to it, strange names, flow yoga, this yoga, stress thing too, like all, and then they were being taught by actually many people who had few weeks, maybe they attended some kind of actually workshop or somewhere, and that was it. And they remember the words of Swami Vishnu, it has to come from actually the master. So I did stay there for a while, and I started to teach. I did actually insist that the name of the class I was going to teach has to have the label Shivananda. And then of course they asked, what is it? And then of course that gave me a kind of an entry there to really say who is actually Shivananda, so me also actually Vishnu, and then I made all kinds of photocopies of the 5 points that I had learned and all of these things, and I did start to teach. I have to say to you that my class was not the most actually popular one. In that actually health club, they were very actually body actually conscious. They were there. They really want to look good, and but still some people came and they did actually stay. After that, I was hired by the YMCA. The Y was a little more actually open. And then one of the good things that I have found that has happened then is that the Y sent me to actually prison. People were actually inmates there, and there was one of them, I don't know why, or if he knew about yoga, he asked to be taught actually yoga. So I did go there, and to my surprise, I was extremely well actually received. I brought with me all the chanting that we have here. I also taught them the 5 points and everything else, and it was an extremely good actually experience. Since then, my own family has gone through lots of stress. My own daughter has been, I have done what I could for my own actually children. They all did actually achieve a high stage of education. And one of my actually youngest daughters, whom I encouraged to go into physics so that she could join from actually quantum physics to what we have been taught here. And then 4 months before she received her actually PhD, we then have been told that she has a brain tumor, and she had to be actually operated, and they could not remove all of it. From what I have known about Ayurvedic medicine, all of these things, and I have been actually hoping them to try to actually apply that. Then there was that big philosophical question that came to my daughter, is why me? I am young. I have a lot to actually contribute why it is happening, and as a result I have found then I am going to start to actually teach again, but this time it's not going to be easy, because my daughter is not anymore actually open to that, because saying, well, if God is good, why then do I have this actually tumor? Why do I have to end my life now? Of course I can explain the notion of karma and all of these things. So this is where I am, where we are at. I am still continuing with my actually teaching at the YMCA. I am extremely actually grateful of everything that I have learned. It has totally changed my life. And when we talk about actually yoga, I remember what actually Swami Vishnu said, I wanted to become PhDs in yoga, but to be practitioner of yoga. These are his words. And then because of him, I became a vegetarian. I live now very naturally, and I really see the world in an extremely different way. We are all one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this point, to put his daughter in your own prayer. When you, I can understand, being very young and ready to get a PhD in quantum physics, you have all the world in front of you, and suddenly there's a big obstacles, and it's a test of the faith. Okay, to overcome that, especially when you're young, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of faith. So the best thing we can do is to pray for her. Okay, that the light goes back into it. And most probably, as mentioned, it probably is karma from the past. Okay? Maybe you should read the book Karma Disease by Swami Vishnu. But in those conditions, it's different for anybody to understand, yeah, I got cancer, why me? Okay? Obviously, the karmic reason behind, there's no doubt about it. Being young, okay, probably from past lives. The best thing that she goes through it, and prayers can help her out to go through it, okay? And possibly in a positive way. Okay.
We need her name.
Yeah, the name of
The name of the daughter?
First name.
Leila.
Layla. Okay, Layla. So we can say on Triamagam right now, but also in your own prayer, okay? Just, remind, okay?
Asatoma Satyamaya Tamasoma Jyoti
Om Bolo Sai Guru Shivananda Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Om Bolo Swami Vishnu-devananda Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Let's do Leela. Let's pray that she'll recover soon. Okay. Thank you very much. Any other person, please come up. That's all right. It's okay. Just stand in line. That's what we have to do.
That's it? Okay. Oops.
It's on.
Okay. I did my TTC in 2005 and my ATTC in 2006.
Where?
In Valmorin, right here.
That's okay.
So it's always very, very good for me to come back. And it's like a family. See, I want to start with the beginning because the way that Shivananda came in my life and how it's working right now through is very, to me, fascinating. In 2004, my mother died. She died of, she was hospitalized for a month and a half without them knowing what she had. She was in an emergency. And after some time, somebody had the bright idea to do a scan, x-ray. And they found she had a broken hip. So after a month and a half in the hospital where she caught different diseases like C. difficile and stuff like that, she was operated and she died 2 weeks after. And I'm the fourth child in my family. I was my mom's baby girl, and it really, really, really affected me a whole lot. And when she was in the recovery room, the nurse, the head nurse, told me, "Make her breathe. She has to breathe." And then I was like, "Mom, you know, let's pretend you're breathing a flower, pretend." And I just couldn't get her to breathe. I mean, I know I wouldn't have saved her life, but it was very despairing. And I've been practicing yoga since I'm 13. And I didn't know anything about Shivananda. So she died in 2004. In February 2005, I went to Costa Rica to see one of her sisters, and I did a yoga seminar there. And there was a coach. And you know, at that time at my work, I was working in communications. It was a little difficult. And I wanted to change my life. And the coach said, "Why don't you teach yoga? Because you love yoga so much." And then I thought, oh gosh, money-wise, that wouldn't be very, very sound. So anyway, I got back home, and on the steps of the apartment building, there was a brochure of Valmorin with the teacher training. So I said, oh, look at this guy. And I felt attracted to Shivananda's face. I've always felt very attracted when I see his face. And that the first time I saw it, I said, oh, wow. And then I talked to my boyfriend, my Lebanese boyfriend, and he said, well, he says, I think that's a sign. It's in June, you do it. And he said, here, I'm going to give you some money to help you do it. So he contributed, so then I did it. And of course, there's a Swami Gayatri from up there who comes and gives the seminar, the workshop on senior citizen, not senior citizen, but senior yoga. And she was always looking at me and saying, when you teach seniors, you got to laugh. And I was always like, oh, she's really talking to me, huh? And it really touched me. Every time I would see her somewhere, she was the only person who did that. She was like, oh, hello, and she'd hug me and kiss me. And I was like, oh, wow, I really like that lady. So things went by, and then I went to see a coach again, and then I decided really to work and to change my life and do some, sorry, I don't speak English so often. I'm French and it's a little easier for me in French. But, so, yes. So, at the same time at work, I told you everything was not very good. I had a burnout. And I decided, and that was after the ATTC. And Prahlad had warned us in the ATTC that when you get out of there, you might find it a little hard getting back to your life. And being a communications director, I found it really hard having the phones ringing next to me. And everything just went, and life put me on a burnout. And then that's where I started to build up something to work with seniors. And Alain, my boyfriend, would always tell me, Carole, old people are waiting for you. Go, do it. So I decided to make a company Because I think if I want to bring yoga to seniors, if I just go my little self knocking on doors, I won't meet too many people. I'll meet a few, but not that many. So I started a business, and I have teachers who work with me, and we bring yoga to seniors. And the wonderful thing that is, I adapted yoga on chair. I followed some seminars and all that, and then I adapted it my way. And to me, what was important was to bring the l'âme du yoga, the fire of yoga, the soul of yoga. You know, more than, because I've done all kinds of yoga where you have to be really well positioned and but that's not what you do with seniors. You want them to touch, you want them to feel what's inside, you want them to feel the energy, you want them to breathe, you want them to, you know, like my mother, I couldn't have her breathe, but now I'm telling you I have hundreds and hundreds of senior citizens breathing. And it's wonderful. And every time I teach senior class, I look at every person and I'm like, okay, stomach up, chest up, stomach up, chest up, stomach up, chest. And I make sure that every single one breathes. And the work is really going and going and going. And I also, on the way, I said, well, how much more can I touch? You know, what can I use? So I decided to make a book on senior yoga. Can I show it?
Sure, why not?
I'm really proud because a lot of seniors have been buying it. It's in French and it's been published at 5,000 copies and they're sold out. They published again 2,000 copies and that means there's a lot of people who are giving it to their parents and who are using it. And there's also a DVD. And the publisher told me if you want to have a DVD in your book, you better find the money to make the DVD. And it costs quite a lot of thousands of dollars. And I went out and I found them, you know, I knocked on doors and I asked for money and I got it.
Try in India, cheap.
Pardon me?
In India, they're cheap.
Oh, not here. To have them filled. So what I wanted in this book was that when I saw the publisher, I said, there's no book like that. And I would like, my wish is that you can see the beauty and the light of seniors. Because they're beautiful. And I find it's very sad in our society that they're in residences and that, you know, I find that when you're 80, you're closer to death and it's kind of time that you be really present, you be really there. And I wanted in this book that we see the beauty.
When you're 90, say not 80.
Okay, when you're not, well, she's 93. She's 93. She's and we also, when I wrote the book, I wanted to have like the 5 key points of Shivananda. For me, that's important. And so the introduction has Shivananda, and we have a Thérèse, you know, Ma Bonne Thérèse that comes here every year, who knew Swami Vishnu. She's in the book, and there's testimonies of the people who are in the book, and Thérèse says that an ounce of practice is worth
Tons of beer.
Exactly. So, you've probably seen this woman here before.
Yes.
She is here. She
Yeah.
is here.
And all through the book, she's so beautiful.
She's my neighbor.
She's here.
Isn't she beautiful?
She's on the second floor.
Well, she's gone now today.
Yeah.
So, what's very wonderful with this book is that it's been bringing yoga to seniors. And there's more and more people who are doing the yoga. And it's wonderful. I have a lady who's 102 years old. She'd never done it in her life before. And she's like just thrilled to death. And when she brings her knee up to here, she's like, hey, wow, look what I can do. And it's very exciting and it brings a lot. So I guess what I wanted to say is that, you know, it's amazing how Shivananda came on my doorstep. And how, you know, through that spirit, because like I just find that I'm the tool doing this, you know, it's like anything can happen, you know, I can be sad or anything, but as soon as I start talking about this and I start working with the people, there's just, I can't stop talking and I can't stop teaching, so it's just something very wonderful and I'm so
happy and thankful to Swami
Yeah.
Vishnu. Thank you.
Even through books, how many people get to know that?
okay? It's important that, as you can see, it's not just for young people, good-looking people, senior citizen, people in the prison. I used to teach actually in prison in Sherbrooke, only 4 persons at a time, and they had to have a guard with a machine gun, okay? High security. But they really appreciated it very much. When I told them I was not able to come, because they had to come all the way from Montreal to go to Eastern Townships, they were pretty sorry about it. And I felt sorry too, okay? But, so to speak, it seems now start to permeate every aspect of society more and more, okay? So I'm very glad that also senior citizens that they start to learn about it, okay? Thank you very much, and thank you for writing the book, okay? And thank you for sharing with us. Next person, please.
Day one of TTC. So Om Namah Shivaya. I am Vimala. I did my TTC in 2002 and my ATTC in 2006, both in Nayadam in India, and I was staff for 2 years in Nayadam and here. So I have many things to share and many experiences, but really what I wanted to come up here for was to say there is so many of us. Why are there so few? One. And also, what can we give back? What are we here for as individuals, as a group right now? You know, many of you, if you turn around right now, you won't know the person next to you. You won't have said a word to them.
Take a deep breath.
You know, this is a community about us creating something powerful. And I know many women, many men in this room that are very powerful. Yet you sit still and don't share yourselves fully. And I want you to come forward, to share, to give, to create something bigger than what is here right now. And it's not that it's wrong or something is wrong, indeed. That's anything but the truth, because we've shared so much joy with the people we do know. But it's about really giving back. And so I want to propose tonight, with your blessing, to create something for a place anywhere, the ashram, wherever, something in the world that this reunion can create, whether it be a statue, whether it be, you know, whatever. I feel like we can put our hands, our minds, our love, our spirit together to create something magnificent. And these 3 days give us that opportunity to really connect and to really give something back in a way that we maybe never realized our power, our love was so strong. So I open this to you.
Thank you very much, Vimala. There is more again that the physical evidence shows to us. We did send email to nearly 20,000 people. We couldn't reach the people who came on the 90 because they didn't have any email at that time. And some of them changed the addresses, but we sent an email to 1,000 people. And I'm sure some of them might not come, but I think they got the message, okay? And also, I believe it's something new. For the first time, 2 years ago, lots of stuff that actually contributed physically to the upkeeping and enlarging of the ashram came back. And we told them, if today we are here, because you in your own time and at your own time, you did something to maintain the ashram, let the ashram grow. So we are very thankful for that. It was the first year. Last year we had about 200-300 people, and this year maybe 200. But it's just the seeds, okay? That's another point. When you go back, you start to talk. Here, Gopala is doing a fantastic job. For the first time, we have lots of photographs. It's coming on the way now of Swami Vishnu. We have a lot of what do you call it, photographs, a lot of films. YouTubes, okay, this coming, even this ceremony will be on YouTube soon, okay. Syvc, Canadian Broadcasting Company, is going to release a movie on yoga called Yoga Paths. I think
Planet Yoga?
Planet Yoga, by Syvc, a regular feature movie, should come out, I believe, in October on the theaters. Now, even though it was started by one of the students, Werner from Vancouver, with the idea to present Swami Vishnu to the world, unfortunately, it became a big production. A lot of other companies put their own money in, but the moment they put their own money, also they said, well, you have to put this and that and that. So it became a mishmash of everybody, even though it was supposed to be Swami Vishnu or Swami Shivananda. It was the intention, it was his idea, and the way he presented the CBC. But then again, he told us honestly, he said, I couldn't do anything because I needed money, and people start to put money, but they said, okay, I put money, but you have to put this guru, this teacher, blah, blah, blah. So it came a tutti frutti now. But again, Swami Shivananda, Swami Vishnu are there, and now we are trying, with all the material which was given to that, to create a movie only on Swami Shivananda and Swami Vishnu, okay, which we pray and before January, if it's possible. Okay, it requires a little money, but we'll try to have just all the different videos, films, photos that we have in the archives down at the Samadhi State, put it all together and see if we can make a movie, a professional movie, and it will be released on the film theaters or not, unless we leave it, and distribute everybody to YouTube. Okay, so there's a lot of going on. Okay. More than the eyes can catch. Next year, as mentioned this morning, we have our own reunion, but you can see more and more people coming. Some of them will be shy, some of them have been here, the 2TTC, I don't know, other parts, so in Europe, in South America, Bahamas, etc., etc. So they might have, well, this is too far away, I don't know the people, I go up there, who they are, I don't know, I feel maybe with a fish out of the water, but it's a preconceived idea, but we try to do here to open ourselves up to everybody, accept everybody, past, present, and future, and try to keep it on my mind on everything, and try as the main objective and goal to spread out the teachings of Swami Shivananda and Swami Vishnu. I think that this critical junction into which society is finding itself, that is part of the mission why Swami Shivananda sent Swami Vishnu to the West, it will spread more and more the idea of yoga on the theoretical as well as the practical knowledge, and it's working out, okay? We have now centers all over. You know how many TTC we have every year? Do you have an idea? How many TTC throughout the world? Nearly 50 every year, okay? And that reaches a lot of people. In India, Nayapdam alone, I think we have nearly, in one season, 4 TTC, we might have 600, 650 TTC, okay? All over India, might get up to 800 TTC. And it reaches a lot of people. I mean, and we start with one TTC, 1969, 35 people, the lady with the sari, and they couldn't do the headstand. Of course, the first year, then somebody decided not to put the sari anymore. And the man had a puja pants, which were 3-size large pants, that Mr. Sainani gave it to me. He used to work in NDG, and somebody said, "When pick up the puja pants?" What is the puja pants? "Oh yeah, you're stupid, don't you know, to do some ritual." Okay, Mr. Sainani, puja pants. So wait a minute. So he came downstairs with it. I think this is a little bit too large. I said, "This is for 3 people." But these are puja pants. He said, "You're puja." All right, for the Swami Vishnu. Swami, that's what you wanted? He said, "Yeah, that's what he wants." So first year everybody was these baggy pants. And then they become very, very practical. And one day I was in the village in New York, and I saw puja pants. Oh my God, there's another guy that put the name puja pants where that he originally came from. So that was to give you an idea how this idea goes. Of course, we'll be happy more people are here, but I think that they'll come. Okay, we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg. I feel as more people, more situations, society is creating the best premises for people to come. Okay. And it doesn't matter how many yogas are out there, okay? When they started in the 60s, there were so many yogas, they all dead and gone. They all dead and gone. Swami Shivananda is still there. So also I think don't change your system. If you want to make a buck, stick to what I've been teaching, okay? Because people come and go. But the spirit of Swami Shivananda, the spirit of Swami Vishnu, here to stay. If you stick to it, great blessing will come to all of us. So don't give it up just because, maybe this yoga, that yoga. All those yoga that came on the 60s and 70s, God knows, there is a movie that we can see in Bahamas. There's a contortionist, and this is called yoga, and I knew some of them, they're all gone. And you never heard about it. But at that time, oh my God, this yoga, that yoga, fire breath yoga was that time. Then he came to Guruji, 15 years old, never grows old, until he got married and had children. So many, they all dead and go. Okay, so the new yogas, if they're good, there's nothing against it. If they're good, if they're spiritual, they're sincere, they last. Time will be the test. Okay, so if they're good, they will last. If they're not good, they come and go like a rented cloud. Okay, but nothing good, nothing bad. We don't want to put anybody down. We are lucky, due probably to our own karma from the past, that we are at the feet of greatest immortal teacher, Swami Shivananda, Swami Vishnu. So just keep doing that. Have faith, love and devotion on that, and things will grow in a proper way. And I think they shall grow in a proper way. Okay? All the visions of Swami Shivananda, Swami Vishnu, they just have to come up on the surface of the water now. Okay? So keep pushing, so to speak. Keep doing our own duty. And I'm sure there will be much more to come. Okay? Next, please.
Amba.
Amma?
Amba.
Amba.
And when you were asking the question of like the different ways that yoga, where it's spread to, so I just was thinking about, I'm originally from Chicago.
What did you do your TTC?
I did my TTC in 2004.
Where?
Here. So I'm a psychological counselor and a dance movement therapist. And I worked for 4 years with international refugees and political asylum seekers in Chicago. And the first thing I want to share is that everyone who I saw, like when they came in, there was a whole slew of questions that we asked them, but one of them was, what was it that helped you make it through what you made what you went through? And I can say that every single person who I asked that question said either faith or God or belief in something greater than themselves. So that was such a humbling experience to just see how present that is in the world in all the different forms. And like it's written on the bag, unity in diversity. So that was the first thing. And then I used yoga with some of these people in different ways because for a lot of them, some of you might know that like when you have a lot of trauma, a lot of times you're really disconnected from your body because it's hard to like stay in your body when you have a lot of trauma. So one of the first things that I would do often with people who would feel sort of like hyper aroused was actually the guided relaxation. I'm relaxing my toes, I'm relaxing my toes, my toes are relaxed, and go all the way through. And for some of them it was the first time they felt relaxed in years. And it was quite beautiful.
Breathe deep.
So the other things that
also did was that I started a yoga program, and we had a men's class and a women's class. And what I found that was present in the classes for the people that I did it for was two things. One was a lot of laughter. They found it really funny. And the second was that it was a very beautiful way for them to start to come back into their bodies in a really safe and sort of neutral kind of way. And it ended up being the ground that later let them actually touch on some of the trauma that was still in their body, because it was like they had the resource in their body through the yoga to be able to touch on some of the stuff that before they weren't able to. So, and I know that there's actually, if any of you are familiar with Van der Kolk, he's one of the big researchers in trauma. He's located in Boston, and there's the Center for the Treatment of Trauma in Boston. So he's actually pushing yoga as a way to really help with trauma. So it's really cool to see that, like, someone who's one of the biggest names in like trauma treatment is really like pushing for yoga to be part of that. And the other thing that I'm just remembering is that, you know, I always get a calendar of Swami Vishnu. And so I had it up on the wall, and I just remember there was this one page that was open, and it said something like, people don't like what's good, they like what's pleasant. And I just remember one of the people who I worked with coming in and reading it, and she said, oh, yeah, you know, it's really true. It's really true. So I guess the other thing that I felt, besides like the literal, like teaching like relaxation or teaching yoga, that I felt helped was like by maintaining my own practice. When I walked in and was with people, one, I felt like I was really grounded. I had a much higher level of concentration and ability to stay present with each person and the things they were bringing. And so I guess it's also just interesting to think about it on that level, that like, if I'm doing this practice for myself, even when I'm not directly teaching it, it's like that is part of what people experience from me. And so then in that way, it's like I'm sharing it even when it's not direct. So,
thank you. More than direction, okay, and that's very, very encouraging type of message, okay. Let's keep up, everybody, okay? Do the best. Next person.
Question, actually, I'm not going to tell a story. Kind of afraid to ask the question, but I'm going to ask anyways. Yesterday, Chandra was telling a story about his ATTC and how Swami Vishnu had made him dig this big kind of foundation down across the street by Samadhi Estates. He was saying originally Swami Vishnu wanted a yoga hospital to be built there, and I was just wondering what kind of happened to that idea, or because this woman was telling a lovely story, maybe not so lovely story, about her mother being in the hospital for a month and a half and had a broken hip and nobody realized. And I just think now these hospitals and this kind of Western idea of medicine, it's not working for a lot of people. And my father was in and out of the hospital my whole life. He had diabetes, he was on kidney dialysis, he had many strokes, he had Alzheimer's, and it's not working. And I think something like a yoga hospital, I mean, I don't know what Swami Vishnu was envisioning, but I think that would be good.
Oh, okay. Thanks for asking. The idea, across the street where the parking lot is, we went down there, We measured everything. And there was the idea to start the Ayurvedic hospital. Now, when we start to go in a deeper research, they told us, the government, just to start a red tape, it might take you $250,000. Then somebody said, forget it. If it just for the red tape takes that much, how much is it going to cost to build up a regular hospital? So then in 78, he said, okay, go to India and build up a hospital. So the ashram in India is called Shivananda Yoga Dhanvantari Ashram, which is the ashram of Lord Dhanvantari, which is the founder of Ayurveda. He came out of the Amrita from the ocean, and he brought Amrita to the world, the food of the gods, or the eternity. So the good news that we are trying now to have a clinic in the ashram itself. We tried last year in Chennai. We have a beautiful piece of land in Madras, right on the beach, close to the beach, about 5 minutes walk. And one side we own, the other side is the owner, and we asked the owner, can you sell? He said, no, I'm not going to sell today. So that was the idea to have the hospital there. It's a quite big portion of land. It's about 4 times the size of this yoga hall. Then we said, okay, so we just put in obstacles, not here, not there. Then we decided to have it in our ashram, Mayadam. So finally, right now, with Suresh, we received the plans, but I didn't like them. Well, kind of shoebox with rooms inside. So we have Zev, which is our own well-wisher from Toronto, is an architect, and he's doing the drawings. They'll be coming down to India in September together to actually see the actual location. And then we are hoping, we're praying, that by March next year, because we have a very busy season, November, December, January, February, March. As mentioned before, you're talking about 500 people every day, okay? So it would be quite disturbing for anybody to have a construction, but by March, April, after the kids camp, which is the last activity in the ashram in India before the monsoon season comes, we'll have to start a clinic on Ayurveda. Has been on my mind since that time, because I was sent to India just for that. And the first thing they have to do, find an architect who did the maquette of the hospital. Okay, that's why it's called Dhanvantari. But for different reasons also in India, I never showed up. But I think now slowly it's coming on the way. So we do pray by next March, April to start the late stone, and within 1 year, 2 years maximum, we'll have another hospital. It will be a clinic, in a sense it's smaller, but we'll have a complete, research, and then massage room, therapy rooms, and sitting room, double room with bathroom attached, single room, all sort of, we ask all our advisor, consultants with this Ayurvedic doctor, they come to ashram in India, Dr. Mahadeva and Dr. Vishnu, please, what are the requirements necessary to have a modern Ayurvedic hospital? So they gave it to us, and now it's in the process to be planted again. Then it has to be brought to the government, even then a certain type of routine, and then when the government approves, we can start to build it up. So I pray to Swamiji, it's the last wish. Because in India, we start in India, we have ashrams and the centers all over India. Imagine we have in Delhi, Uttarkashi, in Trivandrum, Madurai, everywhere in the major city, so to speak, some of the major city. We have it in Thailand, we're going soon to have another TDC there. In Chiang Rai, northern part, we have a center in Tokyo, we have a center in Rome, center in Milan, and also to all the European centers, South American centers. So it seems that the Swamiji's mission is coming to the surface of society today, okay? And we do pray that we start next year as the last wish. In Ayadama, I always say this is the last year we're going to do something, but we started at 250 beds, we stopped and said, okay, that's enough, And then people came, as do every year, and people had to sleep on the floor. We said before coming, look, we don't have no beds, this is the floor. And it's okay, it doesn't matter. I will give you a mattress, a blanket, but they want to come. This year we have more than 400 so beds, okay? And people kept coming, we passed over 500. Again, we had to put people on the satsang rolls. And again, probably had to build up, extra dormitory, put second floor, third floor, etc., etc. But we stopped there, said, okay, we stop for the people, and then we start to do a cleaning. So let's pray that, it shall happen, okay? I see things on my dreams sometimes, and then I try to bring it reality. And that's why it's called Shivananda, Yoga, Vedanta, Dhanvantari Ashram. Every ashram has a particular name that indicates the reason. A yoga ranch or HQ or Nasa Bahamas Yoga Retreat. That's called Dhanvantari because that's to be purely in Ayurveda. We do have a small clinic now, as you probably know, but it's just small. It's just a couple of rooms with the doctors. Small thing, and we cannot stay overnight. They have to stay in the ashram. There will be people staying there permanently. If you have to go to Panchakam, they have to stay for 2-3 weeks. They have a room, they have a sitting room, there will be a TV, some reading rooms, etc., etc. They can stay there. Okay, so that is on the progress for March, April next year. Okay, so let's pray that it will happen. Okay, it's also Swamiji's dream, but also becoming my dream. Before I go, I would like to finish it off. Okay. But we'll not be hospital, a simple clinic. We thought about 21 to 25 beds, okay, which is for the beginning it's enough. Well, you have plenty of land in case you want to build up some more, you can build up some more. But for the beginning it's very costly, you have to go step by step. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Let you know, my TTC I took it in 1978 in Grass Valley, California. It was a nice place and we had some good time.
Still is a nice place.
It is, yeah. I don't know how much it changed. But I'm not here to share any experience, but I would like to ask a question more like a survey. That when you present a class, you advertise a class, a session of 4 weeks, 10 weeks, or I don't know how much you present it, you may have 10, 20 people subscribing to your class. The session goes on, and about 3/4 of your session going on, there are people dropping out. You have, instead of, from 20, instead of having 10, you have 5 people left in a group. So I would like to ask you to raise your hand, how many have that phenomenon in your class? Everybody have it? Okay. I did experience 2 different times of teaching. When I was at the yoga center for 8 years, I decided that I had to have a change, so I went to the world. I started to teach class because it was the only surplus money I could have to survive, because I went on welfare, so that's the way I survived. And I had that phenomenon. I was having 10, 15 people in my class, and then at the 3/4 of my session, I had only 5 people, 3 people, and I did that for 1 year or 2, I think. And I said, what's going on, you know? Because he trained me how to teach when I was his first staff at the yoga center. And I did apply more or less what he have passed on to me. And I had this phenomenon that you start with 10, 15 people and you finish with 5, maybe 3. If you're lucky, you may have 5 people. And I decided to stop teaching. I said, it does strike you in a way that you ask yourself why you have this phenomenon. I'm finding out this, it's not a problem, it's a phenomenon. That it's not only in your group, I think it exists also in the conventional school. They are asking themselves the question why students drop out class. They don't want to continue. And when I started back to teach, that was because of my sister, who went through an operation and she wants to do some yoga exercise, and I was living in Kirkland, Montreal, alone in the nice little house, old house. And she came to me and she said, I want you to teach class. I want you to teach yoga class. So I said, well, it's been probably 20 years I didn't teach. I said, I cannot teach class after 20 years of break. So she kind of pushed me. She said, you gotta teach again. So she came into the house and I gave her a class. And from that time I stopped to when I started again, I've been doing some homework on myself, with a mentor came into my life, and he passed on to me everything he learned. A lot of Western psychology, which I like to point it out. And when I started to teach again, I used what I had learned from my private mentor to bind things together. And I realized I had a different phenomenon in my class. Instead of having 20 people and people drop out 3/4 of the class, I was able to hold them together. And then something happened is my parents were going into a period where they wanted to have somebody from the family to take care of them, so I was the only one available. So I had to stop another period of teaching so I could put all my time with my parents. And then they were put in a home. My mother passed away in 2007 and I started to teach again. I said, it was in a position I had to make this choice, whether I took care of my mother to continue or I continued to teach, because I dropped it out for her, for my parents, which was a nice period of learning with my parents in that time. And then I started back to teach. So my mother was put in a home, and this way I could teach again. And that's the 2 last year I taught, which I shared with you already, that, for example, my first session of class, I had 30 people who subscribe to my class. I present something else I add into my regular class, the yoga postures and what we have learned to teach. I decided to teach a mental part of the yoga class. And when I present my introduction, I ask everybody, do you want to subscribe? I had 30 people, and they all raised their hand. So 30 on 30, they wanted to subscribe to my class. And then when it came to write down, to sign up, only 10 show up. Do you know why? Because in my introduction, it took 2 hours to present the mental part of the yoga class. I want to integrate in the physical postures and all that. So they thought that the class was going to be a mental thing and not the physical. So because I didn't show up the physical part in the introduction, well, they said, what is this class for about? Just mental things? So that's what I understood in their message. But the second class I give a year after, in another session, another season, I had 10 people show up. I did the same thing, but I correct myself. I said I gave the mental part of the yoga class, but I also gave them a little bit of physical posture, something physical they could combine together. So out of the 10 people who subscribe, now the 10 people who show up to the presentation, 10 sign up. So it's 10 out of 10. I had these 10 people in my class. That's all I had. And I found that very interesting because these are the 2 classes I gave before I came back here to Quebec. And I realized that the more I could put mental or Western psychology in what I was teaching, I was able to hold the people together, to hold them to the very end of my session. I started in September and I finished in November, beginning of December. And do you know what stopped them from coming to my class at the end? With the 10 people who subscribed, I had 10 people at the end. Do you know what stopped them?
You left.
At the end of the beginning of December, imagine.
No, he left.
You
No.
left.
Imagine what stopped them coming to my class. I maybe had 1 or 2 in my class at the very end. Do you know what it is?
Tell us.
Christmas shopping. Everybody wanted to do their Christmas shopping. They were not coming to my class. I found that very amazing. So when I realized that, I asked myself the question: is the phenomenon that you have in your session or teaching is the same one that they have as a problem, social problem at school? conventional school, that they have so much student and they ask why they have some stupid student dropping out, you know. So to make a conclusion with what I am presenting to you, is just the question was to find out if I was the only one having that problem. When you start with 10, 15 people and you finish with 2, 3 people. Am I the only one?
No.
No. So,
what's the problem?
Well, the problem, I think, it comes to the communication. Okay? For example, the problem that I did solve at the very beginning is one word that everybody knows is the word concentration. Alright? When you ask people in a class to concentrate, how do you know that everybody understands the word concentration, which is a very, very common word, everybody knows, that they know what you are talking about? Okay? So they apply what you define the way they believe they have understood what concentration is. So that was a puzzle when I started to teach. Well, how can I solve that? So I came with a solution. In my introduction, I take an apple. I took carrots to begin with. I make them have each one an apple and a carrot. I make them concentrated. I said, take an apple and a carrot. You're going to examine it with your senses. We have 5 senses and we have support. Now, the Holy Scripture said we have 5 senses. But I discovered we have 7 senses. So I make them go through the apple and the carrots with their senses. So by doing this exercise, they have learned what is the meaning of the word concentration. It's not a definition, it's an exercise. So for me, going through this process, I make them the exercise, not me, teach them what is concentration. And by doing this, as a first introduction class, I realized I could be in the same frame of communication when I was bringing them into that exercise. When I was delivering the yoga exercise after, the postures and so forth, I was in the same level of communication. I knew I was with them and they were with me as I was going on. And that's how I realized that the communication, I think, it is not just a class problem, I think it's a world problem. At school, at business,
Family.
At family, especially family.
Friends, everywhere.
Everywhere. Communication is a very big problem. So lately, when I came back here, I went to my mentor. I meant to see him lately. And he kind of updates some of his work he does in the neurology. We call neurology. You know what is neurology?
Yeah.
How the brain works with the neurology. And he was shocked to learn from his mentor, like we pass on to each other what we learn with each other. We kind of update. And he told me, he was passing it on to me, the problem of communication is a lack of structure. You know what is a structure?
Yes,
the way the mind processes information coming from outside. Some people like to hear, some people like to see, and some people like to feel things. And the way you communicate and pass it on, whether they got the message or they don't. And that's what I update myself with my mentor, he passes it on to me. And this is just to let you know, I think we have a problem of communication.
Yeah. Thanks, Deja.
Yeah, other people can feedback if we have the same problem. Like when we have a class of 20 people, we end up with 2, 3. Well, it would be good to discuss this.
Besides communication, okay, which is important, okay, it's very important. That's why we have brochures and website, etc., etc. Okay, And it doesn't matter how clear we are in the website here and in India. Still people say, oh, I thought I only do asana. No, but didn't you read on the website that is this and that, the Bhagavad Gita, that. Oh yes, but no, what do you mean? You know, just it's black and white. But beside communication, another word is expectations, okay? And expectation means what? That we do not have clear idea of what we want. And we have preconceived knowledge, preconceived ideas, and when we go to yoga teacher and that please teach me yoga, but teach my way, it doesn't teach my way, I walk away. Well, the bottom line is, these people are not ready, spiritually. Okay, they're not ready. I feel sorry for them, I feel sad for them. You know, they walk away full of ego, full of importance. God bless them, you know. They don't know that they have to come back another life, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I was used to give a more general term is Kali Yuga. Okay. We do our best, okay, we improve our website, brochures through the experience, okay. Lack of communication is vital, expectation is another one, but in spite of that, people walk away. And why? Well, simply, you know why? They're not ready for it, okay. They are not ready, so don't wreck your brain. Naturally, if you present in a more attractive way, if you do something new, because sometimes they get bored, okay, and make your class more challenging, you might have until the end. Also because it depends very much on your physical and mental conditions, your physical and mental conditions. To give an example, in Kerala, in India, we have started a regular, systematic academic class on mechanics, okay? We started with 20 people, and at the end nobody came. Said, why? Well, because my father said, you know, the harvest for the rice paddy is there, so I have to go. And that's so happy because my mother is slowly, that's life. Yeah. Most of us also, we don't know what we want, deeply want, okay? And yoga, what it does, it helps us to find out what we want. But when we are not ready, even I see people walking away. Why? They think they know what they're doing, they have no idea. Yet in the name of freedom, I do what I wanted, they go. Basically is what? They're not ready, that's the bottom line. And it's nothing you can do. You can see karma, you see clearly, you see you could help them, understand them, give some more knowledge. They walk away. Peace be with you. Nothing we can do about it. Of course, having a better probably change the routine, change the approach is helpful for them and for the students. So we improve ourselves. But the bottom line is, if you're not ready, you're not ready. It's nothing you can do. Okay. What Swami Shivananda, why did not convert the world? Swami Vishnu, or Jesus Christ, or Muhammad, or Allah, why? Those that are ready came, those that are not ready, they're still waiting outside, that's all there is. Okay? Nothing you can do. Like it's sad, but that's why it's called Kali Yuga, Iron Age. There's nothing, you cannot go and break the coconut. After all, it's their own freedom. If they want it that way, peace be with them. Okay? Thank you.
My name is Ishvara. I am from California. I've been living there for the last 30 years plus. I took TTC in Grass Valley in 1976 with Swami Vishnu. I was living at the center and the director there kind of just coaxed me. He said, go. And so it looked like it was a message like I couldn't stay at the center, I had to go. So I went, packed up my things and went to take TTC. I didn't have very high expectations. So the first day when we got there, Swamiji's secretary called us all together and said, listen, this is an event that has a purpose. You're not here accidentally. There's a reason why you're here. You have the same karma, you're here for that reason. And then the ceremony started, passing out the uniforms, and Swamiji doing the initiation ceremony, and that just completely blew me away. I was like in a different frame of mind, you know, it just transported to a very, very high level. And during the TTC, I had tremendous heat. Like every night, I would just wake up sweating. It was just completely soaked. Every night, I was sleeping in a tent. in Grass Valley, the evening gets cool. And so I asked somebody, maybe I have a fever, or maybe I'm not feeling well. And they said, no, this is what yoga is doing. It's purifying your nadis, you're purifying your system, and so on. And after that, after TTC, it went really well. I came back to the center, and Swamiji came back to LA for a visit, and he said, we were all like in a meeting, so he looked at me, and he said, Ishvara, how would you like to go to London? And I said, my God, I didn't have a job at the time, and like, London, oh wow, that's like a big deal to me. I couldn't even think of it. And he just kind of looked at me, like, and it was like, yes is the only thing I could say. So I said yes. And I didn't know how it would happen, but somehow it happened. I went to London Center. At the time, the center was in a squat, started by a previous director. That's an Englishman. And we had a lot of classes there. Class attendance was very high. We would put an ad in the local Time Out entertainment kind of a paper, a magazine circular, and we would have 30, 40, sometimes on a waiting list, and sometimes we'd ask people to call in, make sure, so you have space. And I had a lot of energy, so we gave very strong classes. Swamiji taught some of the classes during our TTC, and his classes, some of them, in moments there, seemed like you were like in a military drill camp. He would have us hold some position for a really long time. So he brought a lot of intensity to it, but at the end, it was a really, really long relaxation for the prana to flow and distribute throughout the body. So after that, I came back to Los Angeles to the center, and we had a lot of classes there as well. Very busy center. We had like maybe 25 to 30 classes outside. We were teaching at 2 health clubs. One was World for Women, the other is World for Men, and these were supposed to be 1-hour classes. So all my training was for teaching hour and a half, regular classes with pranayama, with relaxation, pranayama, and doing the Surya Namaskars and the whole thing. So I talked to the director, we all talked about it, so we decided to do a 1-hour class, but with the same intensity, and do all the postures, do everything. Do a little bit of breathing, 12 Surya Namaskars, give a little Savasana, 5 breaths, leg lifts, we didn't do Sirsasana, we didn't do headstands, shoulder stand, all the postures we did in 50 minutes, everything. And we held the shoulder stand for like 3 to 4 minutes with variations, and forward bending, Paschimottanasana, all the variations of it. And then we also did some occasionally standing balancing stuff, but not that much. We usually ended with a spinal twist, and then give 7 to 8 to maybe 10 minutes for final relaxation. So there wasn't much there. And that was up to 80, 81. And then one time Swami Vishnu came to the center, and I said, Swamiji, I need to get a job. I want to teach yoga outside. So it looked like he was preoccupied. He said, okay. He brushed me aside. So then, as he was leaving the center, he looked at me and said, Ishvara, teaching yoga is a service. It's not a job. It's not a business. It's service. You're serving the humanity. And so that killed the idea of me going out and trying to make a big living out of teaching yoga classes. So I decided to go. I had a bachelor's degree, so I got a teaching credential and started teaching high school mathematics. And so now, come back a number of years later, and like I have a family, 2 children, so I got real busy with teaching, taking care of the kids. My wife also works. So 2 or 3 years ago, about 3 years ago, suddenly I started having dreams of Swami Vishnu. And I said, this is really something. Now, I haven't been really at the center in quite a while. LA Center, we had a very dynamic center at one point, and Swamiji's, we sold the building. After that, it's just been kind of like moving along in different parts and not really stabilizing. And since it's not stabilizing, they're not really able to hold a core staff there to service the classes. So I haven't had much contact because they're quite far away from me. I live on one part of Los Angeles, they live on the other, and with all the traffic and all that, there's just not enough time in the day to go there. So I started having these dreams of Swami Vishnu suddenly. And I said, this is really odd, I mean, what could it be? There's no way I can go to the center. I don't know anybody in Grass Valley. If I show up, they may tell me to go. I had all these ideas. I create all these, this Maya that I'm creating. So I just let it go, and then I got this email about this reunion, and I called the ashram. I called Swami Mahadev, and he really welcomed me with open arms. And I was so shocked, But the point about teaching classes, I started going to the health. I joined the gym about 3 or 4 years ago. So since I've taught a lot of yoga classes previously, I took some classes, and the world has changed. And one class I did take was from a Shivananda instructor. And what I found was there was quite a bit of difference between this style that was being taught and the way we taught it in the 70s. First of all, there weren't 12 Surya Namaskars. There weren't enough leg lifts, so the body wasn't really warmed up. The way I was trained by Swamiji, he said 12 Surya Namaskars to warm up the body, warm up the spine, warm up all the muscles, so there you are eliminating chances of any injuries. And so it wasn't there. And it was just a really kind of a mild class. So, and attendance again in that class wasn't as strong as in some of the other classes. Now, when we taught at World for Women and Men years earlier, attendance was really strong. 50 people, 50 ladies would come, not men less, but a lot of women. It would be full, the gym would be full. So anyway, my proposal or query, I don't know if it's already being done, is to see if there could be officially a 1-hour class that we could design for the busy people in the world that like to get their dose of spirituality in a health club, So, and when they go to health club to get their dose of spirituality, you can't really do a lot of mantras and chanting and all of that. It has to be simple, but still strong and still getting the message. And that's a lot of spirituality. If you chant Om 3 times, that's a lot of spirituality for the people there. And some of them remember it. Anyway, so the classes need to be, if you're teaching if it's not like a senior class or somebody handicapped or something like that, if it's a regular class, it has to be treated firmly. And then, you need to allow for people that are need to rest. You can let them rest after a while. If the people want to go on, there has to be a little bit of a push. This is the way Swamiji was. And every time I had interaction, it was always a push. It was never like, love, love, love. It was not like that. And yoga classes weren't just kind of just mellow, lay back, and relax. I think we need to have in the TTC program, I don't know if it's there, if it's been considered to put forth, a 1-hour type of a class that serves busy places like health clubs and such places. And I know that a place like Los Angeles, the health club may provide 400 or 300 to 400 classes a day. There's so many yoga classes and so many styles. So that's what would put Shivananda Yoga on the map again, because in those places people don't remember it anymore. Because the teachers may also shy away because our is not long enough to teach a good Shivananda yoga style class. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. My suggestion is that it can be done, but you have to maintain the same structure of Swami Vishnu. Sometimes I do compress myself in 45 minutes, sometimes I do even half an hour. Okay, so it can be done, but you have to maintain the basic structure. Okay, maybe you reduce a little bit the headstand, maybe you reduce. Sometimes you do more Surya Namaskar, sometimes you give less. Sometimes you stay more on the headstand, sometimes you pass it on, you do only the shoulder stand. It can be done, that depends very much from the teacher, but what I request is not to change the structure. Okay, if I let time to explain why, it's very important. It's not Hatha Yoga, even the way we teach, okay? If you teach it correctly, 95% has nothing to do with physicality. It has to do 5% physical, 95% is beyond that, okay? But in order to be very effective, it has to follow the same structure that Swamiji taught us, okay? Some of us still I do not comprehend, after 43 years or more, the full impact that yoga asana do to the human being. Because we only see, we have a tendency to see only on the physical level. But I realize more and more that it's physical, it's only 5-10%, all the rest is beyond that. So in order to maintain this goodness to people, I would suggest maintain the structure, but you can change and adapt it to the people's circumstances. Okay, I wouldn't suggest change, but we can use the brain, we can bring it within now, sure.
And I had just a couple of ideas. One is, I remember when we were learning the yoga practice, that there actually was a chart in the book saying how to modify the practice for shorter time.
Yeah, they
I
still
think it's
have
already
it.
there.
Yeah, they still have it. Yoga 1, Yoga 2, Yoga 3, Yoga 4, we still do it.
Yeah, so I think it's a structure that we can actually work with. I wanted to say something about my teacher, who has what he's done for us is that he's made yoga. Sorry, my teacher was. I'll start in a minute.
Take a deep breath. What Swamiji used to say, take a deep breath.
And my mother. Our teacher was Bharat Kajar, Yogi Bharat Kajar, who came to the United States from India in the 60s, the 1950s or 60s, and he was trained as a scientist. He worked for DuPont. And he came to Valmoran. And I think what I want to talk about is the power of one person. He discovered Swami Vishnu. And he said, "You're my guru." And he came, and his wife came. And he started a yoga center in Delaware. And I kind of came in at the end. But he was the first yoga teacher in Delaware, and he set up this tremendously pure teaching, is what it is. And he started out with this little 12-page booklet talking about the principles of yoga. And these booklets evolved into chanting books and books of instructions, and finally books that were just inspired and are now in the book in your boutique. There are at least 3 or 4 of them. Yoga for the Hinduism in the modern world, and a yoga book, and all that kind of thing. And what he did was he simply taught the principles. He taught us so that when we came to, and he must have sent a dozen of us, right? At least a dozen of us have come to TTC. And when we came, we knew the Gajanana, we knew Arati, we knew the chants. And the way he did it was so loving and so sweet that I personally didn't know it until I got here, when I said, "Oh, gee, I know this." And it made it just so home. We had this basic philosophy. And so even though it wasn't an ashram, it was just a very small center, he actually started all kinds of things in Delaware and ultimately wound up, writing books and being on television. He had a television program for 10 years. And so this one person has reached thousands and thousands of persons. And what yoga does for me is it informs my whole life. I mean, once we're here, once we've been trained, maybe once we're just touched by the Guru, by Master, it just informs our whole existence. My friend Sita back there is a teacher, and as she left, whenever she left notes for a substitute, she would write, "Be good, do good" on the board. Simple little things that, I taught French, and while the kids were learning pronunciation, they learned body parts, and then I taught them a relaxation in French. But that kind of stuff just informs the world, and we become, I don't know, maybe magnets, I don't know what the word is, we become channels, I think, to inform others just by our being. And I had one suggestion, one idea for yours. Say again? Well, actually, Sita and I were talking about it. One of the things that Brad had us do once was several times I think, we chanted Om Namo Narayana for 24 hours. We each signed up for an hour, and we would come and finish with one person and stay, and so then you chanted. And we went through an entire day like that. And that would be such a simple thing to do either in the ashram, pick a day, and either in the ashrams around the world, or if we have the reunions, where all of us, or some of us, would go into perhaps the Krishna temple and sign up for our times. And the chanting, I think, would perhaps unify us and elevate us and inspire us. That's all. Hari Om.
Thank you very much. We'll do it for sure for the next anniversary, or the 50th anniversary of the Shivananda Ashram. Yeah? So we'll do it, okay? We generally do it Shivaratri every year. We do it in India, in Ashram, and they do it in Rishikesh, as probably you know, since 1942, at the Devalaya Society in Rishikesh, they chant Hari Rama day and night, since 1942. So it's not the Hare Krishna that came up with the idea. Okay, Swami Shivananda started to chant uninterrupted, day and night, 24 hours a day, Hari Rama, right on the very spot where he was assaulted by a person. If you have to hear the story of Swami Vishnu, that one night one person tried to kill him. There they had to sit and chant Hari Rama, since every time you go there, now there's someone there chanting. So we'll do it here for the next year. That's a very good idea. Thank you very much. Thank you. The lady there, want to say something? This is the last one, okay? Otherwise
this one, and I'll be short. And, well, I was a kid and I had the vision of Swami Shivananda, and I didn't know who he was. So I was an active child, and I was very theatrical and everything, and I was designing and everything, and I went to, I guess it was at the end of high school when I started doing yoga, like a yoga class somewhere, and came here in like about the beginning of college, and then I saw his face, and I said, oh, that's who he is. So I felt very home when I came here when I was young, and I had started doing yoga, but it wasn't so profound as later, but it still was the seed. And so the journey began, and I realized that probably from the beginning when I did yoga here, and I was taught to bring it to those, like even when I left my training, much later on, I had been teaching for a long time, and Swamiji said, you don't want to be excited about this, and go and tell everyone. And not everybody's going to want it. So you have found a jewel, and I remember him doing this, holding it close to your heart, and know that you have found something precious. And just hold on, no matter what happens, because, the ride of life, I went through a divorce, I went through being an actress. I took off after doing all the yoga here and wanted to be an actress, and that was, got me through that, and I did very little yoga during that time, and even when I came to do my training, Swami said, I said, maybe I should just stay here, And Swami said, we all have our journey and we come and go, but once we get started, it opens up. And I just love what I've heard here. I'm so moved by everyone. I've done a lot of things over the years, including go through divorce, tried different wellness programs. I've always kept my Shivananda. I've done every possible yoga, tried everything, And I ran a Bikram yoga studio next to my house just to raise my children in Florida. I raised my children in Florida, got through that. My husband came back, so. And even though sometimes it was so hard, I remember that jewel, and even though people said, oh, what are you doing? Why are you doing these asanas? Why? But I remember the real beauty is like when my girlfriend Prema calls, and we've been doing, like, we're old-time, veterans, Shivananda yoga people, and I don't know where Matthew Goldstein, thank God he in Florida was my teacher, and he taught me the real yoga that was taught here. And that, when I came to train, I never hurt myself. I was older, I had gone through a lot, and I finally decided to come and do the training because I needed it for putting it in the schools in Florida and doing more, and I was teaching. But the training was beautiful because it really brought, that's why it's important to come back and listen to Swami and listen to others and share. We are here to share with each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for being here. Be brief. Secondly, try to keep practice a little bit, okay? The best advertisement is our practice, ourselves, okay? And three, try to spread a good word for next year so that on the 50th anniversary of the Shivananda Ashram HQ, I think it's probably the oldest ashram in North America. I remember the first who came was Swami Vivekananda at the end of 1800, and then was Swami Yogananda in California, and then the real trailblazer was Swami Vishnu. Okay, so we'll spread a good word for next year. We try to have a bigger dormitory and more tents, and so the more people can come here and get together. It's the most important, I didn't know what to say to all of you, so what am I going to tell them? I've been trained by Swami Vishnu, some of you, so there's nothing I can say. But what has been said from the ashram is the feeling of family, feeling of reunion, feeling of sharing to have a common ground, okay, and reinforce our own philosophy, reinforce our own psychology, reinforce, last and not least, our own spirituality. That is the most important thing. Renew ourselves in the spirit of yoga. So spread the words and don't forget your practice. And again, thank you very much for being here and sharing with us what you have. By the way, if you any of you as a memento of Swami Vishnu, any photograph with him, any tape, etc., please send it to the HQ. We'll be extremely happy. So again, you're having this movie, we can get it together. So any photograph you had in memento of the ashram, please send it up here. Send a copy, not the original, keep it with you, it's your right, but send us a copy, okay? Thank you very much. Om Namah Shivaya.